Awaken soldiers of the truth and intelligence. Behold the strength, unwavering power. Witness the destruction of all enemies aligned in our crosshairs. It's Black Star Robot back again. It's been a little time, but I'm back. And what we're going to talk about today is the Catholic Church. I know there's been a lot of articles and news reports and about the Catholic Church and what's been going on over there. I mean, some of us have experience in the Catholic Church, whether you went to Catholic school or not, or I don't know, whether you were brought up in Latin America, Africa, where these churches have built empires. One article in particular that's very, very strange. It's an article in the New York Times. And I'm going to read some of it to you right now. Okay. Headlines. New Jersey priest accused of sexual abuse is found shot to death. Allegations of sexual abuse trailed John Caparelli, a former priest, for decades, resurfacing in the years after the Archdiocese of Newark removed him from ministry. There were the lawsuits from accusers, and last month his name was included on a list published by the Roman Catholic Church in New Jersey that identified priests who had been credibly accused of sexual abuse. On Saturday, Mr. Caparelli was found shot in his home in Nevada, and the authorities there said that his death was being investigated as a homicide. The police said that officers found Mr. Caparelli's body in his kitchen after being sent to do a wellness check at his home in Henderson, Nevada, a city of 300,000 people just outside Las Vegas, where he has lived for the past few years. A representative for the Clark County's coroner's office said on Tuesday that Mr. Caparelli, 70, had a single gunshot wound to the neck and that the medical examiner had ruled his death a homicide, not a suicide. He did not feel guilty about anything, I presume. So, it appears, allegedly, that he was gunned down. What can I say about that? What can anybody say about that? Karma? Perhaps. But Mr. Caparelli is dead. Okay, moving right along. Another article. Mind you, I have like 5 articles from a New York Times paper in one day. All these articles was in the same paper. Here we go. 2 bishops accused of sexually harassing adults. I'm going to say it again. 2 bishops accused of sexually harassing adults are barred from their priestly duties. Adults. Listen. If one of them pale hand predators approach me and try to put their hands on me, man, listen. He wish he was in hell. Here we go. The Archdiocese of Baltimore said on Monday that it had barred 2 bishops from performing priestly duties. Priestly duties. What is the priestly duties? Okay. And referred their cases to the Vatican after an internal investigation into allegations that they had sexually harassed adults, including one claim that was dismissed by church investigators a decade ago. The announcement shined a light on the alleged abuse of adults, grown folk over 18, an often overlooked corner of the Catholic Church abuse scandal, and drew parallels to the downfall of Theodore E. McCarrick, a former cardinal and Archbishop of Washington, who was expelled from the priesthood last month after the church found him guilty of abusing children and adult seminarians. He ain't just messing with the kids. He want the grown folk too. Damn it, man. That's perversion to the maximum level, people. That's maximum perversion. You don't want the chitlins only, but you want the big ones too. Oh, gosh. Mess. Okay. Moving right along with another article. This is in Australia. Okay. An outback. Australian cardinal sentenced to 6 years for molesting boys. Here's a little tidbit for you. 80% of those abused by the clergy are boys. So it's not really a lot of conversation about that, but the bulk of their mess and perversion is toward young boys. Listen, I went to a Catholic school for about 2 weeks. I went to a high school in Harlem on 124th Street and Lenox Avenue. It's all boys high school. I decided, I wanted to go to a good school in high school. I jumped around. I went to another school after that and then another one. Anyway, but I was there for like 2 weeks, and then I actually just walked out back door. Couldn't take it. It was some weird stuff. I'm very observant, and my intuition's really strong. Probably being a Cancer. Cancer's very instincts and intuition is very perceptive. Anyway, a lot of weird Asian stuff going on around in there, and I was like, I can't take this. I was out. I mean, I can't even describe the weirdness, but the so-called fathers, I mean, they were soft and very feminine. You know what I mean? And I was like, these guys is. I mean, if I closed my eyes, I would, if I was blind, I would think they were women. Anyway. So that's my little bit experience with the Catholic school system. I wasn't brought up as a Catholic, so but I do know the history of the Catholic Church. Like I know quite a few other religions, because I had attended a program called the New York Theological Seminary, where, you take a really in-depth look within religions and the doctrines, etc., etc. So, one thing I could say about that is when you really delve into the history of some of these religions, really be perfectly clear, all of them, you're going to find some really peculiar stuff. Very peculiar. I don't know, like, for instance, the Bible, it was several books that was written. Some was accepted and some was not. Therefore, you have the Bible, all the books of the Bible. You have other books that's not a part of the Bible, like the Apocryphy and other, not accepted. But one thing always was strange to me is that most of the authors of the Bible are actually, they're attributed to writers, but they're actually anonymous, meaning they're not like 100% sure that, the person who's supposed to have written that part of it actually did or said that part or gave that type of historical account. It's, a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff. I guess that's why I always said that it was important for you to have faith as opposed to you having, looking at religion and some of the doctrines from an intellectual standpoint. Because if you do that, pretty sure your foundation might be a bit shaky because of the characters in the Bible and the characters like the popes. Oh gosh, this guys was doing a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff that is gonna make you question everything. Okay, moving right along. Australian cardinal sentenced to 6 years for molesting boys. Melbourne, Australia, George Pell, an Australian cardinal who was the Vatican's chief financial officer and an advisor to Pope Francis, was sentenced to 6 years in prison on Wednesday for molesting 2 boys after Sunday Mass in 1996. The cardinal was convicted on 5 counts in December, making him the most senior Catholic official and the first bishop to be found guilty in a criminal court for sexually abusing minors, according to bishopaccountability.org. They have their own website, bishopsaccountability.org, which tracks cases of sexual abuse by the Catholic clergy. Cardinal Pell, who stood stone-faced with his lips pursed when his sentence was read aloud, will not be eligible for parole for 3 years and 8 months. Wow, that's a lot of time. Really, 3 years and 8 months. I can imagine that man molested more than just those 3 boys in 1996. For real? Come on. It goes on to say, I would characterize these breaches and abuses as grave, the chief judge in the case, Peter Kidd, said during the sentencing. Speaking directly to Cardinal Pell, he added, your conduct was permeated by staggering arrogance. Oh, such harsh words for a petty folly. The sentence, falling far short of the 50-year maximum, will be closely scrutinized around the world. The sentencing was broadcast live from the courtroom in Melbourne, Australia, second largest city, where Cardinal Pell first rose to prominence as an archbishop. It brings to a close 2 years of legal jockeying over evidence and accusations of sexual abuse, most of which were kept from public view by Australia's legal system until recently. And for Catholics all over the world, it amounts to the toppling of a Vatican giant, a cleric of enormous power who will now reside behind bars, where he gonna meet Big Mike. And Big Mike is gonna lay a plunger into him. Big Mike waiting for him to come up in that cell. Come on over here. Come on over here, Father. Come on here, Father Pal. I got something for you. I got something for you, Father Pal. Uh-huh. The big black rod of discipline is coming down on you, so shit. It's not funny. But it is funny. Because those guys are funny. Okay. The last article that I found in this New York Times the other day. Okay. Here we go. In Australia, the church's bank is full, but pews are empty. Sydney, Australia, despite a series of sexual abuse scandals stretching back decades, Australia's Roman Catholic Church displays a veneer of strength. Across Australia, more Catholic parishes have stayed open than in other countries that have weathered abuse scandals. And Catholic schools are still filled with children, owing largely to the financial and legal savvy of Australia's most prominent cleric, Cardinal George Pell. But it's not the bank accounts that are empty in the Australian church, it's the pews. In December, Cardinal Pell was convicted of sexual abuse, which we just talked about in the last article, in the 1990s, making him the highest-ranking Catholic clergyman in the world to be found guilty of such crimes. We went across that because this is a continuation of that. No, it's not a continuation. Actually, it's another article. This one's more or less talking about Pell and his high ranking and his ability to make the church monies. Well, on the screen, I also have another article which I had came across while I was putting together this here YouTube video. And it had some information that I never came across before. Quite interesting. It says, has Catholic Church committed worst crime in America? And it goes on to say a little bit, some revealing tidbits on how these priests, talk about this whole pedophilia type of issues. And it says, horseplay, in parentheses, a term used to denote child rape, is, says Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro, part of a sinister glossary of euphemisms by which the Catholic Church's bureaucracy obfuscates. I never could say that word. obfuscates. In documents, the Church's pattern of abuse and conspiracy of silence that goes all the way to the Vatican. Benevolent bishop are those who allow predatory priests shuffle from other dioceses to continue as priests. Diocese. Well, okay, so they have their own little glossary and their own little terminologies that they use among themselves. And horseplay is a term for child rape. That sounds like really marginalizing child rape. You calling it horseplay. Really? Hey Dan, have you been doing horseplay lately? Sick. Horseplay. One thing you never do is play wrestle with a priest. Don't do that. That's horse playing. What we call horse playing, playing around, wrestling, whatever. Their horse playing means child rape. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. And another term with benevolent bishop, like a benevolent, a good person, good, that reference is to predatory priests who are being shuffled from, place to place. So, you get a couple of child abuses over here, you do a little bit of horse playing over here in Jersey at this church, this is diocese, whatever, you did a little horse playing, you got caught doing some horse playing. So what happened? Yeah, they transferred me over here to Connecticut, yeah. Oh, really? So he's doing a benevolent bishop move on you, huh? Yeah, you know how that is amongst us guys here. Yeah, horse playing, a benevolent bishop. Yeah, a little transfer over. What the hell? But it's all good, Do 3 Hail Marys and smoke a cigarette. Guys are sick, man. Sick. Okay. Going a little further. It says, the fuse for the national explosion of fury about sexual abuse by Catholic clergy was lit in Boston. The excellent 2015 movie called Spotlight, which I saw, excellent movie. I think it might have won some of the corny awards, Academy Awards, cornball awards. And I think it might have won a couple of those. Recounts the Boston Globe's victory over the stonewalling Catholic hierarchy in 2001 and 2002. But the still reverberating detonation occurred last August in a Pittsburgh grand jury's report on the sexual abuse by approximately 300 priests of at least 1,000 victims in 6 Pennsylvania dioceses. 7 months later, the nationwide stonewalling and cover-up continue by the church that Shapiro says has resisted discovery every step of the way, and bishops are still involved. The church fought his office jurisdiction and fought the release of the report with its sickening details of, for example, giggling priests photographing and fondling boys, and whips, violence, and sadism. Are you serious? Are you serious? There is a systemic and historical, predatory, pedophilia activity that is not new with the Catholic Church. It's not new. This stuff has been going on for centuries. Yes, centuries. Shapiro says that his being Jewish has not adversely affected public perceptions of his office scrutiny of the church. This might be because of credible reports about a boy being raped and then forced into confessional to confess his sins, or a boy having his mouth washed out with holy water after oral sex. The church's crime wave is global. I'm going to say that again because you people need to understand. This is not just dictated to one part or portion of the world. No. This activity, this pedophilia, this sick crap is worldwide. Because you know the Catholic Church is worldwide. You know, they spread all over the place. You know, that's how they come in. You know, come in with a Bible and a cross. And next thing you know, you have the Bible and the cross. And they have your land. You know what I mean? That's how they come in. Oh, man, sick shit. The church's crime wave is global. A French cardinal is convicted of concealing decades of sexual abuse by a priest in his jurisdiction. The Washington Post report how clerical pedophiles preyed on the most isolated and submissive children. At an institute for the deaf in Argentina, hold up, they messing with the deaf. They wrong. They are foul. Whew, unbelievable. At an institute for the deaf in Argentina, scrutiny of Latin America, from which today's Pope came, will be interesting. In America, the acid drizzle of stomach-turning revelations might become a deluge now that 45 states' attorney generals have contacted Shapiro about possibly investigations in their states. It is highly unlikely that the abuses and conspiracies of silence about them are confined to Pennsylvania. Asked if this might be cumulatively the worst crime in American history, Shapiro says, perhaps. I say, off the rip, hell no. Slavery, shadow slavery, is the worst. Okay? Because the Catholic Church was involved with that too. Okay. Perhaps, considering the power of the guilty institution, the scale and prolonged nature of the crime, and the sophisticated criminal cover-up. He speaks of charging the guilty when possible. Many predator priests have died, and statutes of limitation shield others, the way you would typically charge the mob. Which, you know, the mob, usually they catch the guys, they're like 78. You know, Tony the Tiger, you know, he's running around with a robe on, smoking cigars with slippers. You know, he's freaking 79. You don't even know who his kids are. Then he's locked up. We finally caught Joey the Beefsteak Charlie for 20 murders, racketeering, extortion, and so on and so forth. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. Really? Rest of his life. The man got 2 days to live. He old as hell. Freak out of here. Bullshit. Okay. An issue that used to bedevil Western nations, negotiating the border between the powers of civil authorities and the church's prerogatives of self-governance, has settled in favor of the former. So when other states' attorney general consult with him, Shapiro says, do not trust the church about voluntarily surrendering archives. The U.S. Justice Department has put dioceses on notice about preserving records concerning such things as shuffling of predatory priests to benevolent bishops. Good luck with that. In November, a much-anticipated meeting of America's bishops in Baltimore concerning sexual abuse was neutered by the Vatican. You know what that means? Cut off by the balls. Neutered. Kill it. Block it. And the Pope's February meeting on the subject produced nothing reassuring. In America, the unfolding story, Shapiro says, this is only the third or fourth inning. We will involve legislating. Pennsylvania might open a civil window for suing the church. a measure fiercely resisted by the insurance industry. That has sold liability policies to the dioceses. Them punk mother. Excuse my name. They got insurance. Yo. When you start breaking that swamp, boy, all kinds of bones pop up. Guys got insurance. People. This is big. Big stuff, man. Goes deep. I mean, sometimes we get caught up in, having our little good time, drinking a Hennessy, partying, shopping, this and that. And things are going on in this world that can adversely affect you, which you really don't even know how or why or when. Because you up in that haze, Listen, we living in the last days, bro. Period. I mean, I wasn't going to talk about this, but because usually I want to make a point. It's something that I'm trying to reach. And for some, I couldn't find, what's the point? What's the point? But you know what? I have a point. My point is this. If your kids like to play basketball, baseball, whatever, and the church, the Catholic Church is having some type of function, or they providing these, this baseball outing or football outing or after school, bro, don't bring your kids there to them guys, man. That's like you walking up to R. Kelly's house with your 13-year-old daughter. Don't give them to the wolves. Don't feed them to the wolves. That doesn't make sense. Only thing you got, or only reason you have for going up in that Catholic church is, you can't pay your rent or something, and you need a check. Other than that, and you go by yourself. Don't bring your kids. Do not bring your kids. Because if they have to go to the bathroom or something, you don't know who's up, what priest is up in that bathroom is lurking up in there, ready to, give them 3 Hail Marys and some other sickness. So, my point of this whole thing is to be aware. Be on point. Be intelligent. Please. I beg of you. I beg of you.